Hello and welcome to all. Uh, Here I am taking up the poem of your syllabus of class 10, The Ball Poem by John Berryman. Dear students, in this session I will explain the poem line by line. We will discuss here the literary devices used in this poem along with the conclusion of the poem on the whole. So let's move on. First, about the poem. In this poem, John Berryman tells us about our reactions at some material loss. A boy loses a ball in the water. He is very upset at the loss of the ball. A ball doesn't cost much. It is not even difficult to buy a new ball. But the poet wants the child to understand that losing thing is a common thing of life. In this poem, the poet John Berryman has described the reality of life which everyone has to face one day. He has touched the topic of how to stand up against the miseries and sorrows of life. If we talk about the author John Berryman was born on 25th October 1914 in United States of America. He was educated at Columbia University. He is best known for the Dream Songs 1969, which was a sequence of 385 poems. He was well-known poet of his era. He won Pulitzer Prize for the Dream Songs. He also won National Book Award. And finally, he died on 7th of January 1972. If we talk about the central idea, what the poem revolves around, the main idea, let me tell you that this poem shows how all throughout our life we will be forced to do things that we don't want to do. And we will lose or have to give up the things that we love. But despite this, we have to learn to stand up, to be strong and get on with our life, no matter how much it hurts inside, because that is the only way we will survive. We have to learn to accept and let go and not cling on to something that we can never have. In this poem, John Berryman, the poet, he this poem looks like a very simple story of a young boy losing his ball. The boy is very upset over the loss. Normally, it may seem like a great overreaction from his side. Children lose things like their toys, balls quite often. Usually, no fuss should be made about such a small thing. But the ball seems to be symbolizing the poet's childhood. The boy, becoming an adult, loses his childhood. He was clinging onto his childhood for so long. The poet accepts the change in his life. Although he is still suffering, yet he is learning to move on from his fleeting childhood. The true theme of the poem is that we should cherish every moment of life. Life is really very short. The poet realizes that it is very difficult to deal with the loss, but it must be done. We should move on as there is no use in wasting precious time and life. Now the explanation part. I have taken first few lines of this poem. What is the boy now who has lost his ball? What is he to do? I saw it go merrily bouncing down the street and then merrily over. There it is in the water. No use to say, oh, there are other balls. Here the poet is talking about a boy who has lost his ball. He wants to know about him and his reaction because he has lost his ball. Further, he asks to himself that what this boy will do after losing his ball. The poet has seen the ball going away from the boy. He says that the ball was cheerfully jumping up and down in the street. This means that when the ball skipped from boy's hand, it went into the street and later on it fell into nearby river. Here, the poet here deters himself from saying that there are other balls because the boy wants the same ball. The ball had been with him for a long time and it was linked to the memories of the days when he played with it. If we talk about the literary devices used here, anaphora is used. Anaphora, it is used to repeated words in two or more lines. As you can see from here, what is the boy, what, and merrily bouncing here, merrily over. So anaphora is used here. Further, if we say repetition is also used here, as you can see from the second line, what he to do, what is repeated here. Now, an ultimate shaking grief fixes the boy as he stands rigid, trembling, staring down all his young days into the harbor where his ball went. I would not intrude on him. A dime, another ball is worthless. Here the poet says that there is no benefit of consoling the boy by saying that he will get another ball because he has other balls too. He says so because the boy is feeling very sad. He is completely surrounded by sorrow. He is sad because all the memories of the childhood days went down the harbor with the ball. Here the poet says that the boy is very sad as the ball, which has now gone into water, reminds him of those sweet memories of the times when he owned it. This loss is unbearable for him and he is grief stricken. The poet says that he cannot even tell the boy to take some money from him in order to buy another ball. He says so because the new ball will not bring the sense of belonging to the boy. Further, the poet says that the time has come for the boy to learn the responsibility of taking care of his things. A dime, here I tell you about some new words and their meaning. Dime, it's 10-cent US currency. Intrude means to invade. Rigid means fixed. Harbor is a dock, is a port. Here the poet says that he does not want to intervene the boy's thoughts as though this experience, the boy will learn the meaning of loss on his own. Further, the poet doesn't offer him money to buy another ball because that would be worthless. So that's why poet is not willing to offer any kind of help to the boy. Now, he senses first responsibility in a world of possessions. People will take balls. Balls will be lost always, little boy. And no one buys a ball back. Money is external. Here the poet says that the boy has to learn that in this materialistic world, many of his belongings will be lost. He personifies the ball as his belongings, be it the worldly things or the relationships he is in possession of. So he says that he has to learn to live without them no matter what. He says no one can buy back such things for him. The poet said so because according to him, money cannot buy you everything. If it doesn't buy you some materialistic thing, still it will not be able to buy the sense of belongingness. He says that the boy is learning how to stand up against the sense of lost things. This means that the boy is trying to learn the real truth of life, which states that we have to accept the miseries of the life and stand up again. This is the truth which everyone has to learn in his or her life. The harsh truth of standing up against the odd miseries of life that everyone has to bear. The poet thus makes the boy understand about his responsibility, as the loss is immaterial, money is external, as it cannot buy memories, nor can it replace the things that we love, the things that really matter. Now he is learning well behind his desperate eyes this epistemology of loss, how to stand up, knowing what every man must one day know, and most know many days how to stand up. Here the poet suggests that from the loss of the ball, the boy is learning how to stand up in a world of possessions. The boy is learning what it means to lose something. The poet says that knowing that every man has to stand up after such losses, the boy too will learn how to stand up and leave the losses behind as he would have understood the true meaning and nature of loss. Now, if I conclude the poem in short, this poem is a very relatable poem. That is why we cannot help but be touched by the story that the poet tells us. Everything the boy is going through, we have all been through. What is unique about the poem is its symbolism. That is, a thing as simple as a ball can be used to signify everything that we human beings hold dearly in amazing. The way in which the poet describes every minute expression on the boy's face has also gives us the feeling that he himself had been in the boy's position at one time and that he is writing from his own experience. It also makes us feel that the poet can see directly into the human heart and read its every beat with accuracy. A poet who can arouse such empathy in a poet of much skill, and that is what we feel about John Berryman after reading this poem. If I sum up, if I tell you the summary of the poem, uh, this poem by John Berryman is about losing something that we love and learning to grow up. It is about a little boy who, for the first time in his young life, is learning what it is like to experience grief at the loss of a much beloved possession, his ball. To us, the loss of ball is minor consequence, and our reaction is to it. It's okay. Oh, there are other balls. But to a little boy, this is not so. A dime, another ball is worthless. Money is external. It cannot buy back our love nor replaces the things that we love. The things that really matter. In this poem, the boy's ball personifies his young days and happy innocence. In this world, people will take balls just as they will take away our innocence and force us to grow up. And once we lose this innocence, we can never get it back. Balls will be lost always, little boy, and no one buys a ball back. This poem goes to show how all throughout our life we will be forced to do things that we don't want to do, and we will lose or we have to give up the things that we love. But despite this, we have to learn to stand up, to be strong, and get on with a life no matter how much it hurts inside, because that is the only way we will survive. We have to learn to accept and let go and not cling on to something that we can never have. The poet uses imagery when describing how the ball personifies the spirit of the boy's childish innocence. As you can see in the last 5 lines, uh, for example, I am telling you, we visualize how the spirit of the little boy, like the ball, is sinking into the dark waters of harbor. As it drifts further away, the boy learns to grow up, and that part of him that is linked to the ball grows up as well until it is no longer a little boy. The poem consists of only one stanza. There is no rhyming, but the poet instead conveys his meaning through the rhythm, the tone, and his use of words. For example, in the lines, I saw it go merrily bouncing down the street and then merrily over, in the first 5 lines, what I had explained. The short, brisk, happy words allow you to visualize a ball bouncing along, as you can see from here. In the line, an ultimate shaking grief fixes the boy. He stands rigid, trembling, staring down all his young days into the harbor where his ball went. The words and rhythm is tragic, dramatic and harsh, which is suitable for the situation. Similar use of tone and rhythm help add to effect of the poem and help emphasize the meaning. So I hope you all liked it. Thank you very much for watching the video. Have a good day.